Do you know about fantasy esports and play at a service not called AlphaDraft? If so, please hold for 2 sentences. What's that? You don't know about it? Then let me tell you about AlphaDraft. AlphaDraft is a site that offers a fantasy esports service. They offer it in many different games: League of Legends, CSGO, Dota 2, Smite. You can play numerous big tournaments there and online leagues. So for League of Legends, they had the World Championships recently. I anticipate they'll have IEM San Jose. For CSGO, they had DreamHack Cluj. They currently have the Face It League, and I expect they'll have IEM San Jose for CSGO as well. They have all different scales and types of tournaments, small ones, big ones that are free to enter, ones that are very low amount to enter. You can go up to like $1,000 to enter if you really want to, and you just go there, you pick out the players you think will do well, try and make intelligent picks that you think will be a good scenario going forwards. That's about all I've got to say from that. If you didn't care about it, then shut the fuck up. 2 seconds from now, there's a video. So, JW and PawN are two players who are from drastically different universes because they don't play games that are even in the same genre. JW is a CSGO pro and PawN is a League of Legends pro. But if you see the contrasts both between the skill sets of these two players, the level of success they've had, their role within their team, and how the roles within their team have allowed them to impact both scenes, you'll see what an interesting contrast and or rather what interesting similarities there are between the two players and how they both fulfill this very interesting, not just wildcard role, but extremely dangerous wildcard, and one who's been very successful, even though put into different team situations, maybe they wouldn't be as successful. So first and foremost, they are both very successful players. Both are world champions. So PawN is a mid laner who played formerly for Samsung White and now for EDG. JW is a sniper and in general kind of wildcard player and fragger who plays for Fnatic. Now both are world champions. PawN won the World Championship in League of Legends in 2014 at the Season 4 World Championship, where he won with Samsung White in very dominant fashion. They only lost 2 games out of 17 played. JW has won the World Championship technically 3 times in CSGO. He won in the first major, there's been 7, which was in DreamHack Winter 2013, where he won with Fnatic in what was considered kind of an inspired or a miracle or something of a fluke run, where they managed to beat NIP in the final. Then this year, when his team, a different Fnatic lineup, was the best team in the world, he managed to win 2 majors back-to-back, which is ESL1 Cologne, ESL1 Katowice, first of all, in March of this year, then ESL Cologne in August of this year. They're both players who've won numerous tournaments. So PawN has won not only Worlds, but he won Demacia Cup twice. He won the G League. Those are all third-party tournaments within China. He's won MSI, which is a big international tournament, and he's won LPL. Now you look over at JW, and he's won more than 14 LAN tournaments, including numerous big LAN tournaments worth a lot of money, including the majors, obviously. They've both had many top placings. PawN has finished top 4 in OGN twice in a row, actually, in 2014, where his team finished 3rd, both times Samsung White. You look over at JW, and he's had a bazillion top placings in tournaments. I mean, I said he's won 14 tournaments. He's finished top 4 or in the finals of many, many more than that. One of the best records outside of any NIP player, basically, for that. They've both earned a lot of prize money. PawN has earned more than 275,000. I think when I ran this, it was before Worlds, so he'll be higher than that now. More than 275,000 as his share. JW has earned more than 183,000. This is before the major, so again, his all have gone up. So both probably over 200,000 won in prize money individually. Obviously, as a team, they'll have won close to $1 million then. Both arguably members of the best teams of all time in their game. People often argue that Samsung White, that PawN was a part of, was the best team ever, just because that one tournament they had was so dominant, and it was a world championship. They were so incredible there, and then the level of consistency also was pretty good. They can only really be beaten by world-beating type teams like Samsung Blue. Then it makes you think, yeah, they're obviously a candidate for best team of all time. Likewise, JW's team, Fnatic, aren't like... It's not that you can't debate that they're the best team of all time. Again, there's some debate to be had there. Some people still think of NiP as the best team of all time, much because of their streak of dominance. Much like people think of SKT in League of Legends as their streak of dominance made them the best in 2013. But people make the case, I actually support this one, that Fnatic's the best team of all time in CSGO. Because that particular lineup they're a part of, the one that only just broke apart now, won 2 straight majors. No one else had even won more than 1 major with a specific lineup. They'd won an amazing amount of tournaments, had an amazing run of top fours, and only finished outside the top four twice ever as this lineup. Yet they're in theory, the most competitive era ever. So again, a very impressive team. Now, what's interesting is that's just the accomplishments and the kind of facts about the players. Then when you get down to looking at their games, both are very skilled players, like an incredibly high skill ceiling on what they're capable of and what they can do in terms of raw outplays within a game. So you think of PawN and you think of the bazillion champions this guy plays. He plays so many champions and he's one of the best of all time. He's probably the best on some champions, and he's one of the best on so many different champions. Like let me reel some of them off, and you'll think of some of the games he's had, and he's clearly incredible on these champions. So you think of like Kassadin, Yasuo, Nidalee, Lulu, Fizz, Jace, LeBlanc, TF. Some of these, he's the best of all time, and he's at the very least on some of them like a top 3, top 5 player of all time. Yeah, I've just listed off like what. Let me think. Kassadin, Yasuo, Nidalee, Lulu, Fizz, Jace, LeBlanc, TF. 8 champions there. And obviously his champion pool goes beyond that, but those are 8 that he's shown incredible proficiency on and had monster games on. Then you go over to JW. JW, for someone who's never been the best player in the world, has probably the craziest collection of clips you will ever see, as in highlight reel plays in CSGO. The amount of clips where he's pulling off absolutely godlike AWP shots where he's re-peeking into angles. And if you don't know much about CSGO, normally for an AWPer, you want to take a hard angle, usually as the defensive side, have the enemy come into it, and you take the shot, and then you move back and take a different angle. He will take the very risky re-peek back into an angle where he either got a kill, and now his teammate, the teammate of the guy he just killed, will be waiting to get the trade kill onto JW because he'll know where JW is going to be. So it's very risky to peek out, or where he's peeked out and missed, and now the enemy knows in his setup, and now the enemy has the defensive position, and he'll re-peek out into it to try and kill him anyway. It's one of the most risky shots you can take in the game. He's famous for routinely doing this again and again and making it work and wrecking teams. He's so famous for the number of crazy no-scopes he's had. Then you go beyond even the AWP. In terms of pistols, there's so much crazy shit this guy's done with a CZ, with a Tech 9, just a ludicrous pistol round player. Then you've got some of the more like weird weapons that are only used as specialist weapons, like the shotguns, the Mag 7, the sawn-off. He's ridiculous at getting kills with these and getting into the ranges where these can even be viable, where they're not viable at all ranges and all mall maps and all situations, but he makes them work. Interestingly, both of them, and this is where it starts to get into the stylistic aspect where they share a similarity and are quite unique in their games but share a similarity across games, both are used as wildcard type players. And what I mean by that is the way they play, the way they operate, and the way their role works within their team is actually set outside of the base team structure. As in the rest of the team play as a unit without these players, and it's because it's known that they will be a unit, the rest of the group, and these players won't be. They're given a level of autonomy, a free reign, to go outside of the team structure, whatever they're going to do, this team playing a certain strategy, and kind of do whatever they want to a degree. But rather than just say do what they want, it's more that they can play very aggressively, very risky, they can play in a very intuitive manner, they can just try and cause havoc and chaos around the game, and that's what they do. That's when they're at their best, is when they're given this free reign, and they'll play a very risky, very aggressive, very ballsy style of play, which has a big effect on the opponent. And this is where it's interesting, because they're in the best teams, or they were at certain times in their careers, the effect it has on the opponent, both in terms of their actual play and psychologically, is exaggerated beyond what it would be if you took the same really good player, put them within a team structure and had them as the star player, which they could be good at, but they probably wouldn't be in the best team and they wouldn't be the best player in the world. Instead, their role is more magnified, more exaggerated because of being within this team structure like this, because what happens is then opponents start to focus on this player because he's causing so much havoc and he's playing so aggressively and so risky, and he's picking certain champions that are so dangerous. But you don't. So in League of Legends, you think, do I want to take a champion away from PawN? But if I do, now I'm giving a champion potentially that's good to one of the carries of EDG, like I might be giving it over to Deft. Then you look at on the Fnatic side of things. If you focus too much on JW, now the rest of the team is going to be rotating correctly, or they're going to be using him as a fake at certain areas, or they're going to be backing him up in certain ways. So then you go the other way, right? If I'm not focusing him on that particular way, do I ignore him? When you ignore them, which is generally probably the right approach usually, then they can, on certain games, they will just wreak havoc and wreck you completely. Meanwhile, there are games where if you focus on them, you will be able to shut them down, or you'll try to, but you'll find out that even if you shut them down, because they're operating outside the structure, they might have still had, first of all, the effect on how you'll play, so the unit of what their team's doing will be able to combat the rest of what your team's doing. And also, secondly, you'll be put in a situation where, because of their team understanding how to play without them, their team can actually sometimes win the game without them. So in the case of JW, he could have a bad game, but Olaf Meister and Krims can carry the game and the Fnatic can win anyway. And you might think, fuck, what did I waste my time on this distraction for? Then you look at the games where PawN might die 7 times without a kill, that sort of crazy scoreline, and EDG can still win the game because their structure of how they win in the late game, mid to late game, with team fighting and using incredible players like in the past, Coral 1, Clearlove now obviously, and then the carry of Deft, they can still win because that's not the structure to rely on PawN. Then though, you go the other way, if you don't ignore them, there will be games, rather if you do ignore them, there are going to sometimes be those games where they go ham. PawN will have these incredible games where you get so many outplays, so many kills in lane, so many ridiculous like highlight reel kills. You think, fuck, why didn't I do something? But same with JW, he'll wreak havoc, he'll have rounds where it'll just look like he's almost cheating and you'll be like, fuck, we should have just gone away from where he's going on those sites, we should have used extra nades on him. But that's the dilemma they're putting you in constantly with this wildcard role, but in the context of their bigger team unit. If you look at the fact of what I'm saying there, that here's what makes them so unique as star type players. For me, they're not star players because they're not guys you can rely upon every game. They're not guys who you need to win the game. And they're not guys who, just in terms of raw, consistent output, can output to the same degree that a star player usually can. I mean, there's a great basketball definition of a star player. The star player is the guy where when you need a point to get back in a game or to push a game ahead or to stay within a game where there's problems, that's where you throw the ball to this guy and you let him go to work. It's obviously like some arbitrary nature to that, but the general principle there, the idea of like the reliable nature, the carry nature, the consistency, and the fact that they can get it done even under pressure when even the opponent knows they're getting the ball, those kind of factors do kind of make up what I think of as the star player. So these guys aren't really that, actually. They're more of a luxury, an incredible, very dangerous, sometimes very effective, but obviously quite risk heavy luxury to have, which can win you games, but also them doing badly won't lose you games. So here's the interesting thing, is that both of them also have this history as the carries and star players of smaller teams that didn't accomplish much relative to their later careers. And I think this is why, because when you look at the dynamic of when they were the star player and things were built around them, and then later on when they're just the wild card with fantastic players around them and fantastic teams around them, you see why they're more successful in the latter role than the former. So first of all, let's look at JW. JW's history was that on paper he was a carry in the Fnatic lineup of 2013 and the Epsilon lineup before that, where they made the final of DreamHack Summer 2013 with Epsilon, and then obviously later on in the year they started to get good and started to get like a top 4, top 5 team, and then they won the major at the end of the year when they had Pronax in the lineup. Now, he was in theory a star, a carry within this team. He used to try and play like he does now, but it didn't really work. He was mainly just doing that online or in the odd like group stage match versus lower teams. He couldn't have those monster games against the big teams and on these big LAN matches. It just wasn't working for him. But then when Olaf Meister and Krims came over, and he wasn't even expected to be a star player, now suddenly he started to flourish, he started to get shit together, he started to become a very good player. Now his style is he plays super aggressive. He puts map pressure onto the opponent by constantly re-peaking certain areas, constantly causing havoc, just being very aggressive in how he'll play a certain spot. I mean, think of that famous clip that we've seen on Dust 2, okay, where Cajun B from TSM throws a mullet, shoots a guy low from the double doors at long A as a terrorist, throws a Molotov into the double doors area, and then moves on a long A here, and then moves back towards mid. JW gets a kill because he sees his teammate get shot down, thinks, right, that guy's going to think that the guy coming through the doors now, if he was to come into the Molotov, will die because he's got lower health. So I don't have lower health, so he runs in, jumps through there. I can't remember what gun he had, maybe like a Tech 9, or was it actually an AWP or something? Jumps through, gets a kill onto KGB who has his back turned, and then just gets back out again. That's an absolutely impossible play. No one would make that play. No one would even conceive to make that play. It's ridiculous. And if it fails, you're down a man and you've almost needlessly sacrificed the guy. But he did it, and because they couldn't even conceive it, it somehow worked. And so the pressure he can put on the map at all times, because you're having to think, fuck, is JW there? Is he going to come now? Is he going to do a crazy re-peak? Even though in theory I've taken, he's missed his shot here and I've taken up position now, and now it should be my area to control. He just fucks with all the kind of normal intuitive rules of how the game's played. Because of this, he distracts and he draws attention away from what other people on the map are doing and the other sites, and puts a lot of the pressure onto where he's playing or where you think he's playing. He also fucks up the early tactical setup and base that teams have on a terrorist side by aggressively peeking him in these ways, by getting kills even in these ways, by distracting people, making them nervous that he's going to pop out like he did the round before. And this, as a result, makes opponents go slower or try to rush certain areas, or when they go slower, even be even more careful and try and check more boxes and more areas behind them, which sometimes will fuck with the rhythm and routine of what that team wanted to accomplish tactically against other opponents but can't now against Fnatic. Now, he was at his best in late 2014, before the CZ got nerfed, when it was still a very OP weapon, and before the AWP got nerfed. When those two things got nerfed, his level went down a decent amount. Before that, he was playing some star level Counter-Strike, and he had some incredible series and games where he was really absolutely unbelievable. His rifles have never been that sick. They've always been alright. And in general, what he relies upon is his team to be the most fundamentally sound, to have strong team play base, which they did right up until I think like TSM took over, and to have certain players that are very skilled on his team that allow him to play this way, because they can play from a man down if he dies. So you've got Crims, incredibly one of the best fundamental players, very skilled player. Then you've got Flusher, a wildly unusual but consistent player in terms of the crazy shit he does, but he does it on a regular basis and does play quite a safe game within the team concept. Pronax is obviously a guy where he understands how to play the supportive role within his team, knows all the flashes and smokes. And then Olafmeister at one point in time, for like a 6 or 7 month span, was the best player in the world. So he generally also played with the best player in the world on his team, carrying him to a degree and allowing him the luxury to go crazy because he had the best player in the world in reserve, as it were. Then you go and look at PawN. PawN is a guy where he did have a history as a carry originally. He was on Samsung Blue, the team that after Worlds 2013, Season 3, managed to beat SK Telecom in a best of 3, and famously he killed Faker in lane. We all know the kind of reputation that he got after that, where he was the Faker slayer. He would repeatedly meet Faker and kill him. But that team, if you remember in the same competition, what people often forget is the same team didn't win that WCG qualifier. They then lost later in the final to CJ Blaze, who had ambition, who wasn't thought of as the best mid laner in any respect. He had Flame, all these good guys. Then they went into the winter season of OGN that split. That's it, that year, with the same lineup, Samsung Blue, and they lost to SK Telecom in the quarterfinals. And the hype was dead for a little while. And that was him in a team where he was the star. And he was a skilled player, although admittedly his champ was quite small at the time. Then you put him onto God tier teams. Suddenly he's having fantastic success. He's not the star, he's not the main person, he's not the main role, and he's playing outside of the team concept, but he's having great success. He put on Samsung White, the team that had Lupo as the top laner, who's a very good utility top laner and who could teleport in exactly when commanded to. You had Dandy, one of the best junglers of all time, probably the best jungler of all time, just a phenomenal, amazing talent who, because of how he paths the map, it makes it very difficult to ever gank the mid lane. And so PawN has extra advantages playing aggressively because you don't have Dandies there. Or you don't know if you can make a gank because he's so good at counter ganks, he might read it and just come in and fuck you up. And now you've got 2v1'd in the mid. Then you look at, they had Mata, probably the best support player of all time, phenomenal shot caller as well. And then they had Imp, absolutely an incredible AD carry, who to this day is still one of the best ever and still one of the best in the game right at this moment. Then after Samsung White, the one he won the World Championship, he goes over to EDG, Edward Gaming. So he had Koro1, who early on in the year, if he wasn't the best top laner in the world, he was absolutely one of them. He was incredible at both styles of top lane, utility and carry. He was really, really good zoning for like game team fights, which was obviously where EDG made their money and always had in the past lineups. You had Clearlove, who at one point in time was probably the best jungler, really took over, really started to assert himself, play carry champions. You had Mako, who was a rookie, but very quickly fit in and showed he had stuff. I don't think he was one of the best. I think people overhyped him a bit. He was still a very good player. And you had Deft, who was probably the best AD carry in the world at the time. Really fantastic player and the main star of this team. Then you look at the fact that he was obviously never the star player or carry in these teams. Now, interestingly, as I referenced before, he has won games where he had stat lines that maybe once in a blue moon another team might be able to get away with this, but you wouldn't probably think of it. Think of a carry mid laner now who has to carry nearly all the time. So we're thinking of like a Bjergsen, a Faker, this level of player, Coco. Think of them having a scoreline like this and then me telling you that his team won the game. It would be almost inconceivable. So in the regionals this year against Invictus Gaming, PawN had a game where he played his Yasuo, one of his patented incredible champions that he was like a one trick on at one point in time. On this champion, he went 2-8-0 and his team won the game. In the LPL Spring playoffs, in the final game of the final the fifth game of the final where it's 2-2, and if his team loses this game, they lose the championship. Consider this. Think about this for a second. He had a TF game where he went 0-6-10, and they won that game, won the championship, and he got to be an LPL champion. Here's another great example. And one last one I've got for you. In LPL Spring against Gamti, who wasn't even a good team, they were like one of the bottom 4-5 tag teams. He played a game on Corky where he went 2-5-12 against not even a good team, and they won the game anyway. Now, he's another guy who plays super aggressive. He's a guy who loves this dueling style. JW does to a degree as well, to take these crazy aim duels and has weird picks. Famously, PawN, because of his luxury position, not having to be the star, not having to carry every game, he can do crazy counter picks all day long. They would often let him just counter pick the mid all day long in Samsung White, and to a degree in EDG, so that as a result, he can just fuck with his other mid laner. He can get crazy good champions for him since he's not being banned away so much. Because of his unique position, most of the time he had freedom in terms of what he picked. Yes, at certain points in time, teams like Blue intelligently would ban away Yasuo because they knew how dangerous he was on it. But in general, people often give up a lot of the potential bans you would put on a PawN because they have to focus them elsewhere on his team to make other more dangerous, more carry-oriented players not be as strong as they could be. Also, teams do focus others. That is generally the better approach, because if you focus him, it aids his team, because then his team's not getting the focus, and then he can distract from you in terms of either pressure or in terms of bans. The team structure's not based around him. I mean, in Samsung White, the team started and ended with Dandy and Mata. They were the vision controllers. They controlled all the lanes between them. He had a role that wasn't even very connected to that. He used to almost just play on his own and do whatever the fuck he wanted. It was a bot lane centric team. Okay, go over to EDG now. Now you have Clearlove. Clearlove is always thinking, how do I gank for Deft? How do I keep Deft alive? So again, it's bot lane centric, but in terms of purely the AD carry now, and the jungler's always helping him all the time. It's not about PawN in that sense. So again, you don't want to focus on PawN in this particular sense. Well, most of the time you don't. Then you had Coral One, this amazing zoning player. So again, it's not about PawN in this sense. He has lots of his fame due to wrecking Faker, but what's interesting, people always forget this, is just as with JW, I'd say, okay, yeah, look at the games he wrecks, look at the times he's absolutely amazing. The reason why you know he's not the best player is because he can't do that as much of the time as the greatest players can. He can't have so many big carry games as the great players can. So yes, his skill ceiling on certain games is so high, you think he might have the best skill ceiling at times, but then you look at his consistency and it drops off heavily compared to the other great players. Same for PawN. Always, every time someone says like, yeah, but he killed Faker, and if he kills Faker and he beats Faker so many times, he must be the best. I always said this logic, think about it. Faker's not the best for killing and beating one specific player. Why is Faker the best? Because against the whole field of all the players in the world, Faker does the best against the whole field at such a consistently high level and with such ease, it seems, in game, that it's almost undeniable that he's the best. When you look at PawN, yes, PawN's done so well against Faker so many times, but he wasn't even as godly against the other LPL mids, despite having a better team than pretty much all of them. He would go against Godv, Rookie, a bunch of other players in mid lanes, or some of the lesser ones, and he would have games where he'd get wrecked, or he'd just do okay, or he'd do like a little bit decent, but he wouldn't be like Faker, bodying so many even incredible players like Faker does on the regular. I mean, to use my old analogy, okay, yes, maybe PawN is kryptonite to Faker's Superman, but kryptonite is not a better superhero than Superman. See, it works on Superman, it only works on Superman or other Kryptonians. Let's not get into that. Now, it's also a point that in OGN, PawN also didn't used to just body all the other mid laners. When he used to play against Dade, he didn't just go wild and wreck Dade's face. I mean, there's a reason Samsung Blue won a lot of those games. Dade was had a similar skill cap, similar incredible skill set, but he was a star player within his team who had a very big role within it in terms of what he did, and was more effective, I'd argue, and is a better player in history. You look even Ambition. He didn't used to always just wreck when he went against Ambition. Some of those games are quite interesting, quite close. Ambition could hang in there. So you see, both of these players, they do have incredible skills. They've had a great impact on the game, and you can't take, it's not like we're taking away credit. They've played a very important role in their teams winning championships, just not the most important one. And it's come at a very interesting thing where their teams has gotten a luxury out of it, but they've gotten a luxury as well. They've got a luxury of doing what they want without much pressure, without much bans, which star players get all these things on them. And they've had the other players to support them when they fail, and because their styles are so risky that they're going to, more often than not, they've got this incredible structure around them which has allowed them to win and put them in a position where that kind of risky style doesn't actually hinder and hamper their success, but enhances it. So incredible players, but in very unique situations, yet there's these lines, these connecting points between the two across games of radically different genre. So I think that's quite interesting. So thanks to AlphaDraft.